Is that ham processed? If it's processed, I don't want it.
Ma'am, that is an 11-pound whole slab of deli ham. It has no bones.
See a commercial for ham on TV. It's often set in the countryside, with a nice family and a rustic backdrop.
That's been a fantastic week. My name is Sam. I will be going through the process. I will be talking about processed meat and unprocessed meat, pros and cons, whether it's good or.
But first, as you've probably heard in a headline or two by now, it was a sobering day for meat lovers, especially in a country that ranks second in the world for eating the most meat. William Brangham has the story and some perspective on what you need to know.
This new report released today by the World Health Organization found that often beloved meats like sausage, bacon, ham, and hot dogs can cause certain types of cancer. Prior studies had established similar connections, but the WHO was the most prominent health organization to specifically say processed meats can cause cancer. It looked at more than 800 studies around the world. It also found that eating freshly prepared red meat like steak or pork or lamb probably can cause cancer as well.
Whether it's bad for you, you can go ahead and make your own informed decision. This is not to scare you or to tell you to stop the meat. I might eat meat, love meat, I probably eat meat. Okay. Talk about processed meat. The first thing people will say, oh, it's going to give you cancer.
He has placed processed meat like hot dogs and ham in the same cancer risk category as tobacco, but the amount of increased risk is nowhere near the same. Lifetime risk of getting colon cancer is 5%. Eating the equivalent of one hot dog a day raises that to about 6%. By comparison, one study found the lifetime risk of lung cancer is 1.3% in male non-smokers and about 17% in smokers. The evidence was strongest for a cancer link with processed meat. The international panel of experts said the cancer link for red meat like steak and pork is weaker, but that red meat probably also causes cancer, mainly colon, but possibly also pancreatic and prostate. The committee described a number of possible mechanisms. Dr. Mariana Stern of USC served on the panel.
Processed meat are treated with different chemicals in order to preserve the meat. Some of those chemicals are nitrates, and those nitrates can react in the body.
Here are 4 different clips why processed meat isn't as bad as we make it to be. Click 1. Reason 1.
Organization has fallen prey to the terrible observational research that has been done on processed meat. So these researchers included all relevant studies that had anything to do with processed meat and colon cancer. And one of the first quotes that jumps out early on in this paper is, quote, our research into this indicates a high risk of selectively reported results. Then the next quote is, indicates a high risk of overlooking relevant literature. Now, to translate this into Dr. Berry speak, this is cherry picking, okay? They basically went and found all the studies that showed that processed meat is the devil, and they ignored other research studies that show that processed meat's fine. 2, fail to control for the age of the participants, the sex of the participants, the family history of colorectal cancer of the participants, the BMI of the participants. So if the participants were overweight, obese, or morbidly obese, that wasn't even accounted for.
Now, if we're talking about the absolute best food to help you heal, repair, especially after exercise, but from anything like stress, trauma, surgery, hands down, the answer would be red meat. Now, I recently did a video talking about different proteins which are a little bit better for certain health conditions. Maybe something's better for anti-inflammatory, etc. But when we're talking about generalized healing and repair, animal meat, and specifically red meat, is at the top of the list. Because not only does red meat have the most protein, it also has some other amazing things that I'm going to share with you today, which is going to blow you away. Over 30 years of practice, I've never met one person who ever had an allergy to meat, okay? They might have had an allergy to peanuts or eggs or seafood or shellfish or wheat or soy, but not red meat. And just the fact that meat has been villainized, right, as the bad guy, you should start eating less red meat as a way to get healthy. Or overall, it's going to be better for climate change because we know the cows are destroying the climate, which is completely ridiculous. But right there, that one argument, the fact that mainstream is telling you not to do it, the truth is going to be in the exact opposite direction. In fact, it's difficult to heal and repair your body without animal protein.
In the study, energy intake, how much food they were eating a day, alcohol, and last but not least, smoking. Yes, all of these researchers thought, well, we're not going to control for smoking in a study looking at colon cancer because smoking doesn't cause cancer. Yeah, I'm not joking. If read this paper, you're going to be blown away by the foolishness of previous epidemiological research about processed meat. They did not control for the age of the participant. They didn't control for smoking, for alcohol intake, which also definitely increases your risk of cancer. If you're overweight, if you're obese, if you're morbidly obese, your risk of all cancers are higher. They didn't control for that. Only 2 studies out of the 20, 30, 40, 50 studies controlled for these things. That makes all of these studies bunk. That's the Dr. Berg interpretation. That makes all of these studies bunk. That's the Dr. Berg interpretation. It makes them bullshit. If you don't control for other things that we know increase your risk of cancer, then what kind of research are you doing? In the conclusion of their paper, these researchers say, we concluded that the overall certainty for the body of evidence examining the association between processed meat and cancer was very low across all individual cancer outcomes. So the evidence that the World Health Organization, the IRAC, everybody, your mama, your nutritionist, those plant-based gurus on the internet, is all based on evidence that is very low quality. That's a quote. The final quote of this paper I'm going to read to you kind of brings it all home and lets you know just what quality of research all those people out there have been talking about. Our updated meta-analysis of colorectal cancer indicated that 75% of the eligible studies had a moderate to serious risk of missing data. So they literally cherry-picked and left data out. And about half of the studies had issues with bias in the selection of the reported results. So that's the thing I've been telling you guys about for years. Anytime you're doing observational research that's not controlled, it's not blinded, if you have a preconceived notion, if you have a bias, if you believe that plant-based diet is the way all human beings should eat, then your bias is going to slip into the results of the research. 75% of the research about colorectal cancer and processed meat is at serious risk of missing data. They literally left data out that showed that processed meat was fine. 50% of the studies had issues.
Processed meats, I mean hot dogs, pepperoni, salami, hamburgers, chorizo. These are all meat that have been heavily processed. Chemicals have been added to them to make them taste better or to make them last longer. A lot of fast food places would use processed meat on their menu. If you were to use regular meat, the chances are the meat will go off in a couple of days, or let's see. And you can justify the way of saying, okay, well, that's why restaurants, only fast food restaurants, use processed meat. I'm also aware that not everyone can afford steak, and people just don't have money to buy beef or go to a butcher and buy expensive beef. That's not what I'm saying. I'm totally aware of this. It comes to mind cans. Fun fact: processed meat can give you colorectal cancer. Now, I want you to take a look at this clip and tell me what you think.
Served on the panel.
Processed meat are treated with different chemicals in order to preserve the meat. Some of those chemicals are nitrates, and those nitrates can react in the body and form carcinogens.
Processed meat, in one way or the other. If you go back as far as the Romans' day or the Mongol days, we need to process meat, or maybe add salt to them, procure them in a way to keep them long enough from going off. It's not a new phenomenon, it's just a way of preserving meat. But there's a catch of but. People never lived long enough that an increase of 50 grams of processed meat increases your chance by 18%. But scientists said they still need to look into this deeper. Here's a couple of clips.
He co-wrote a notable paper for the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2012 about the links between diet and cancer. Dr. Schoenfeld, thank you for doing this. The WHO certainly put the scare into meat eaters all over the country today. How much of this, if I'm someone who has a couple slices of bacon or a turkey sandwich a few times a week, how worried should I be?
Sure. So I think it's important to realize that what the World Health Organization did was, like you said, looked at hundreds of studies and put the evidence from those studies together to show that the consumption of processed or red meats was quite possibly associated with an increased risk of a variety of different types of cancer. Now, what these studies did was look at the overall risk of cancer, and so it's hard to say that any one piece of bacon, for example, or piece of meat would increase your risk of cancer by a certain amount. But in total, you know, these studies show that being one of the people who consume the most amount of meats or processed foods could potentially increase your risk of these cancers.
So let's break this down a little bit. When we say processed meats, what are we talking about?
So it's actually a definition that encompasses a variety of different ways to add flavor or to help preserve the meats. So the different studies that the World Health Organization looked at.
You to use your own judgments. Have a look at this clip. People who eat red meat die younger, are more likely to get cardiovascular disease.
While a carnivore diet has gained popularity in recent years, many people still consider it impossible and unhealthy. However, the Mongol army defied these notions. They were the original carnivore eaters, relying primarily on animal products for their sustenance. In fact, vegetables were looked down upon as goat food. The Mongols found it utterly repulsive that farmers ate plants grown in dirt and fertilized with excrement. Their disgust for plant-based foods highlights their commitment to a meat-centric diet.
Mongolian diet arises in the context of longer lifespan. Most of your ancestors did not live long enough to die from the diseases that kill most Mongolians today. If you're reading this, you probably are or will at some point over the age of 40, will be over the age of 40, you will probably not die of starvation, wounds of war, infectious disease, but of cardiovascular disease such as cancer or complications of type 2 diabetes. Cardiovascular disease currently accounts for approximately 37% of total mortality rate in Mongolia. Improved diet would have prevented about 75% of this death, which give Mongolia the distinction of having the highest diet preventable. The highest diet preventable
concept of steak tartare, a dish made from uncooked minced beef or horse meat. Mongol riders placed raw meat under their saddles, and the movement of the horse and rider tenderized the meat, resulting in a flattened steak. Drinking alcoholic beverages, including airag, was a major pastime for Mongols of all social levels. They indulged in honey wine, millet beer, wines from grapes or rice, and various distilled liquors. Excessive drinking was prevalent, often leading to obesity, gout, and even early deaths among Mongol leaders.
Cardiovascular death rate in the world. Okay, so I'll leave a link below for you to really add it for yourself. That's just a summary. I need that's not to scare you, or that's not to tell you to stop eating your meat. Like I said, I love eating meat. I would always eat meat. It's not a scare tactic. And also, I've watched a documentary about processed meats. I'm taking time out of my day. Just would still love to eat, or maybe it's something that it doesn't bother you too much. See those pink, when you go to the shop and you want to buy a ham, see those pinkish color, the way they make the ham pink? Well, guess what? All chemical engineered.
But what if, behind this pretty pink, hid one of the biggest health scandals of our era? In 2015, the World Health Organization listed processed meats as carcinogenic for man. We decided to investigate the ingredients used by the giants of the food industry.
It can induce DNA breaks.
The additive is suspected of playing a role in the development of colorectal cancer, one of the deadliest cancers in Europe. The cause? A phenomenon that takes place during digestion. It's chemistry, but we'll make it simple. You swallow a piece of cured meat. You think you're peacefully digesting it, but what you don't know is the nitrite molecules are reacting with the meat proteins, transforming them into very dangerous substances. Nitrosamines.
Want to prevent.
Professor de Cook notably wanted to find out what happens inside the body when we don't eat processed meat and when we eat a lot of it. To do so, he conducted an experiment with human guinea pigs, like I'll know. For 2 weeks, this student ate 300 grams of processed meat a day, the equivalent of 8.5 sausages or 7 slices of ham.
After 15 days, we saw that the exposure to nitrosamines was considerably increased. So it was up to between 2- and 3-fold increase as compared to the levels that we measured at start.
The researcher measured the impact on the organism of this chemical mutation of nitrites into nitrosamines. In his lab, he tested the fecal water of big processed meat eaters like Arnaud.
So what you see here is fecal water from 4 different individuals.
To see what happens inside the body, the researchers mixed this fecal water with human cells. The white deposited in the test tube. Then they observed what happened to the cells.
So you see that if you have no exposure, you see that everything is intact, so the material stays together. But if you are exposed to nitrosamines that induce breakages of the DNA, you see this comet tail appearing. So you see that here the damage is quite extensive. So the more damage you have, the more likely it is that a cell like this will eventually mutate into a pre-cancer type of cell.
How long does it take for such a damage?
Well, this damage can be induced relatively quickly. So in this assay, when we isolate the cells and we only expose them for half an hour, and then you already see the breakage of these DNA strands. So that's how fast it can happen. And that can also happen not just in the lab here, but also in an intact human body.
And if we stopped using nitrites, then what?
That would make a difference of potentially several thousands of colorectal cancer deaths in Europe every year.
That's huge.
That's huge. Because colorectal cancer is a very frequent disease, already small changes in a cancer risk can have a big impact in a large population.
Thousands fewer cancers, and therefore potentially fewer deaths, just by suppressing nitrites.